for WWE Summerslam 2019 review stream. And we've got quite a lot to go through. This was quite a action-packed show, if you will. A lot of talking points, a lot of stuff for us to go through. Maybe some of these opinions are going to be a little bit controversial. There's been a lot of people actually online that seem to be really into this show. And a lot of people online that seem to be really into how the show ended, how it finished. I gotta be honest, I'm not feeling it. I struggled with the ending of SummerSlam, and we're going to go through exactly why. I can see people joining us in the chat. Hello to you. I hope you guys enjoyed SummerSlam. I thought it was a fine show. I thought it was around about an 8 or so. But then it really started to fall away. And the reason for that was because of Seth winning. I just didn't feel like it was the right time. I didn't feel like it was realistic for Seth to win, because we had seen him get absolutely destroyed just a couple of weeks ago. We even saw on Monday he was struggling to walk to the ring. He came down with a chair, got into the ring, and then got absolutely destroyed. We saw that on Monday, yet we're meant to believe that by Sunday he is back to being a competitor and beating up a healthy Brock Lesnar. That's where I really struggle, because I just feel like it slips out of the realms of realism. Brock Lesnar is a former UFC heavyweight champion. It should take Seth to be not only on his best day, but to have an absolute miracle as well happen for him. And I really struggle with it. I really struggle to get my head around why they've booked Seth to have beaten Brock again. I really like Brock, actually. I was never the biggest fan of his championship run. I think he should have defended the title more often than he did, more regularly than he did. But I didn't hate Brock's championship run like other people. I think if you're champion, then you should be allowed to defend every 30 days. And honestly, you shouldn't be forced to defend it more than that. The rules are you defend it every 30 days, or at least every 30 days. And if I was champion, I would do it every 30 days on the day, and that would be it. I certainly wouldn't be defending it on Raw every single week, or doing open challenges, or putting myself in handicap matches or things like that. For me, that just shows like a lack of intelligence. Like, why, if you was champion, would you put yourself in that position? And I really don't like Seth Rollins being champion. I've got nothing against Seth. I really think he needs to kind of go away and just figure a few things out. I think even Seth Rollins fans will agree that 2019 hasn't been as good as 2018. I think his in-ring work hasn't been as sharp. And I think that he is better when he's chasing the title rather than when he's actually champion. I don't think his championship reign since WrestleMania had been that good. I don't think it had been noteworthy. I'm surprised that WWE want to go back to that. I just can't get my head around it on any level. I just don't understand. The only thing I can think is he sells merch and they want him to sell merch. I should imagine Brock sells merch as well, though. I can't get my head around it. I'm struggling. I really thought Brock Lesnar was going to win. I really did. I know that Brock had destroyed Seth. And normally, you know, if you look good on the go-home show, then you tend to lose at the pay-per-view. Brock looked great on the go-home shows. So, you know, the rule says he should lose at the pay-per-view. But I really thought that Brock had done the job, taken Seth out of the game, and it was just a case of finishing the job at the pay-per-view. I really thought this might lead to something bigger for Seth, where he would be forced to kind of look at his character, reevaluate where he was. You're not going to get any of that now. Now you're just going to get the same old Seth Rollins coming out, bragging that he's the Beast Slayer, and just doesn't work for me. I don't know. I don't know. I'm really disappointed by it, but I've looked online and there's people that are really into it. There's people that are saying that's how you finish a pay-per-view, and it's just, for me, it's just not realistic. Normally I'm in line with what people say. Normally when I've watched a show, I will jump online, and how I feel about it is how other people feel about it. I don't know if I'm out of sync on this one. Let me know in the chat as to if I'm right or wrong, or whatever it is that you think. I'm giving it a 7. I was around an 8, maybe even over an 8 for SummerSlam. I thought it had built quite nicely throughout the evening, but as for the reasons that I've just explained, that main event kind of left a bit of a sour taste in the mouth, and so I've knocked it down to a 7 as a result. Let's go through the rest of the card. Let's go through the rest of the card and see, talk about what we thought and any little bits that we might have missed at the time. I was making notes all throughout the live stream, so we can go back to those. Good night to Jamie. Thank you to Nando, who says that they agree. If WWE was based on realism, we wouldn't see a battered up Seth even show up. Chalmers, you're absolutely right. And you know what? I would be totally cool with that. Could you imagine if Seth hadn't shown? And we get Triple H come out and he says, look, for what you did to Seth on, Raw and where we are at the moment, he can't compete. He's actually not now medically cleared. So, congratulations. You've dealt with the Seth problem in the short term, but now here's a new problem. And then you get a brand new, unexpected challenger. Braun's music hits and Braun Strowman comes out, and we end up getting Brock versus Braun instead. That would have made so much more sense. I think that would have been brilliant, but we didn't go that way. Instead, he competed, and not only did he compete, but he won the match. I mean, I don't want to dwell on it. But the impact that had a couple of weeks ago when Brock just destroyed Seth, it's all been wasted. It was all for nothing. I mean, he was hurling him onto stretchers. He was absolutely destroying him. And then 2 weeks later, Seth's beating Brock. I can't get my head around it. Let's go through the card, as we said. So, started off with Drew Gulak against Oney Lorcan on the kickoff show. Thought this was a decent match. I've got to be honest, Drew Gulak's not my favourite champion. I do like the 205 Live stars and champions to have a little bit more about them, kind of airily, if that's even a word. But yeah, he's not a high flyer. He does offer something different. But to be honest, when I watch 205 Live, I'm kind of looking for the agility and the acrobatics, because that's what they're known for. I know really it should just be anyone that's under 205 goes into 205 Live. Doesn't matter if you are a high flyer, a brawler, or what kind of style you fight in, but it just tends to be the high flyers, doesn't it? It tends to be like the luchas. But Drew Gulak offers something different. I think this match was fine, just not my favourite 205 championship match, if you will. Largely forgettable, if I'm being honest. It's one of those matches that when you're watching it, you're enjoying it. But I'm thinking back now, and I'm struggling to recall any kind of moment from it. So Drew Gulak retained, and it's kind of going to be interesting to see who his next challenger is going to be. I'd really like to see some kind of feud, kind of really build up now. But I don't know who that could be against. I really need to start getting back into 205 Live because I've really lost my way with it. But if rumours are to be believed, it might be getting merged with NXT, and then going on to have that FS1 time slot. So could be a very interesting future for 205 Live anyway. Moving on, we got Apollo Crews and Buddy Murphy, and it was Buddy Murphy that was victorious, but he was victorious because Rowan came down and absolutely destroyed Buddy Murphy. And it was a case that Buddy Murphy won by DQ. I don't know if this is going to be a face turn for Buddy Murphy. He's been a heel up until this point, but it could be a face turn. Rowan is going to be a heel, and he seemed to destroy Buddy Murphy, surely setting up a match between the two of them. And I think turning Buddy Murphy face in the process. We're going to have to wait for confirmation of that, and we'll get confirmation hopefully on SmackDown. Daniel Bryan, just watching backstage, I thought was quite bizarre. Still unclear as to whether Daniel is aware of what's going on, or, you know, is he happy with what Rowan's doing? Did Daniel Bryan mastermind it all? I really can't say. I don't know at this stage. He was just kind of watching backstage. So it does add a nice level of intrigue to the whole storyline. So, yeah, just a bit of a shame for Apollo Crews, really, because he doesn't seem to get a break. But he's a great superstar, and hopefully his time will come. Next, we got Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross against the Iconics. It was what it was. Bliss and Cross retain. Some nice little action in there, but not really a great deal to discuss and go through. But it was perfectly fine for what it was. It was, of course, like the rematch for the Iconics. It's hard to know what the Iconics can go on to do now, because there isn't really much of a women's tag division. So I'm not sure what they can kind of spend their time or occupy themselves with. Probably food and catering, knowing WWE, which is a real shame, because I do rate the Iconics. I think they are decent in ring. They're not the most amazing wrestlers, but they're steady. They're fine. They can do a job. And I think they're really good on the mic. Not with the scripts that they're given, but certainly with what they do backstage themselves. Really, when they are themselves, I think they're brilliant. I think they're a lot of fun. And I wish WWE would give them more opportunities to show that on programming, rather than just on the YouTube channel. So yeah, hard to know where they go from here. I just hope that whole tag division just really steps up now that we've got new champs. New champs that were crowned only the other day. Goldberg, Dolph Ziggler. Goldberg, this was weird. This was really weird. Goldberg wins the match and then walks away, of course. Dolph Ziggler gets the microphone and says, I knew you wouldn't fight me man to man. This is literally after they've just had a fight man to man. So Goldberg comes back, destroys him again. Then Dolph Ziggler's giving it a little bit more lip. So Goldberg comes back for a third time. I mean, this was the absolute burial of Dolph Ziggler. If you were going to kill the Dolph Ziggler character, this is what you would do. I don't know where Dolph goes from here. Dolph is just... He's got no credibility anymore. I don't know how you turn this around. I don't think you can. I mean, Dolph could go on like a 2-month winning streak, and I still wouldn't really buy into him, because his character has just been beaten down so much. There's nothing left. I really don't think there's anything left. So, I was fine with Goldberg winning. I felt like Goldberg would, because Dolph doesn't have any momentum. But I don't know why they did it this way. It's so confusing. I feel like it is part of a bigger story. And we're going to have to wait and see how that unfolds. I mean, the sad thing is Dolph has only just come back from quite a lot of time off. So you would think he would come back like rejuvenated, refreshed. They would have something lined up for him. No. It just doesn't seem to be that way. And honestly, at this point, I don't think things will ever change. I think Dolph Ziggler is really destined now to just be a bit of a whipping boy, and just to get kind of beaten up by different people, be that baby faces that need a push, or be it legends that just need a nice little moment. He's just kind of caught in the middle. We'll have to wait and see. Next, we got AJ Styles against Ricochet. Decent match. AJ Styles wins. The club, or OC I should say, beat down on Ricochet after the match. I did wonder if someone was going to come out. No one did. Clearly no one likes Ricochet. Yeah, that was it. What was quite interesting with the OC, it is noteworthy, and we need to mention it before I forget, is on the kickoff show, they did actually approach Finn Balor and say, look, if you need us in your corner, if you need any help, all you got to do is ask. And they threw up the too sweet sign. I did wonder if he was going to kind of get that help. He didn't. But I think it has laid some foundations for what might come in the future. Thank you very much to Solomon Brown, I can see, who says they're a big fan. And John says watching from the Philippines, which is awesome. Right, let's move on to Bayley versus Ember Moon. I thought Ember Moon would win this. I thought that we would get a title change somewhere. I didn't expect it to be between Lesnar and Rollins. I thought it would be in the Bayley-Ember Moon match. I did wonder if Sasha might cost Bayley or something along those lines. Sadly, we didn't get Sasha, and Bayley retained as a result. I suppose in a way it's all right. I think we will see Sasha soon. I was told that she would be back in the summer, so SummerSlam kind of made the most sense. But maybe we see her on SmackDown. Maybe she comes back to either help Bayley or challenge Bayley. I still feel like Sasha and Bayley are still going to be involved with each other somehow. I'm not saying Hug and Boss connection are getting back together, but I can't tell if they're going to be friends or if it's going to be a feud. I'm kind of hoping for the feud. I really do want Bayley and Sasha in a bit of a feud. I think that could be a lot of fun, but we'll have to wait and see. Charlotte Flair against Trish. This match was awful to start with. Really slow. Really lacked like a pace and momentum. And you just had Trish just kind of like flailing around a little bit. I thought she was gone. I thought she was done. I thought she just didn't have it. I thought that she maybe didn't have the stamina anymore, or but I think she was selling, because as the match went on, there was some really great moments. Trish with a figure eight, Trish with a Stratisfaction, and some really cool spots towards the end. The match really got going. Sadly, it kind of ended just as it was, really finding its feet, and it finished. I think had it have continued for another 5 minutes or so, then it really would have been up there for my match of the night, which sounds really weird because I thought it was awful at the start. First 5-10 minutes or whatever, like the first real half of the match, awful. Just really didn't enjoy it at all. But then the second part of the match, I really enjoyed. So they kind of balance each other out, which is why I'm saying if it had gone for another 5 minutes, maybe it would have tipped it over and made it one of my favourite matches of the evening. But as it was a decent showing in the end. Trish saying that was her last match. Got a great reaction from the crowd. And it was fine. Yeah, it was fine. Next we had Kevin Owens, Shane McMahon. Not much to say. Elias came down as the enforcer. And it's worth mentioning Elias was interrupted on the kickoff show by Edge, which was a great little moment. And weird that Bret Hart was there, but he was just backstage in like this throwaway moment. He appeared with Seth Rollins, wished him luck, and that was it. Kind of, you would have felt that they would have had Bret Hart come out and wave to the crowd, or, do you know what I mean? It was very weird. At least Edge got to come out and speared Elias, which was brilliant. But that happened on the kickoff show. So, I don't know why they didn't use Bret Hart and Edge on the actual main show better, if you will. But yeah, Elias came out. He was the enforcer. And it was an okay match. I've got to say, I really enjoyed watching Kevin Owens just kind of unleashing that side of him that you don't see that often, that vicious side. Like, he was really going to town on Elias and going to town on Shane McMahon. Low blow as well. I'm sure Shane's going to have plenty to say about that. But Kevin Owens won, and as a result, he doesn't have to leave WWE. Moving on, we got Kofi Kingston. This was Kofi Kingston, Randy Orton. It was a double count out. Again, this is what I'm saying. I wasn't quite in sync with people. I actually thought this match was okay. I think I really like the background to the match. I really like the history between these two. So I was really into it. I got to admit, though, I do agree that the double count-out finish is really cheap. So I can understand why people weren't happy. But it wasn't a bad match. I got to be honest. I mean, I was watching it and I was perfectly entertained. And there seemed to be real animosity between the two. You got an RKO out of nowhere, and there were some nice moments in the match. They were doing quite a bit of stuff on the outside. And obviously, as we said, there's a real history between the two, which I felt added to the match. So I was really surprised that people were saying that there was boring chants and people really seemed to be unhappy with it. But I do think the finish probably was a big factor. No one likes double count-outs. They are just really cheap. So maybe that's a feud that we're going to see continue. Becky Lynch, Natalya. Becky Lynch retained. Really good match. I would say this was my second favourite match of the evening. Because it was very quick. Lots of transitions. Trading each other's moves. We saw disarmers and sharpshooters, and there was loads going on. And it was, as you said, decent pace. It was a lot of fun. It might be the best Becky Lynch match that I've seen since she faced Asuka at the Royal Rumble. So, yeah, I would say this is right up there. Those, for me, would be the two best Becky Lynch matches of the year so far. So, yeah, really, really good. And then that brings us to the final talking point, the Fiend Finn Balor match. Of course, I've saved this to last. I am exactly like WWE. I know you guys want to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it at the end of the show. And that's what WWE did. This was the second to last match. And there's so much to talk about. I will do a separate video. If you haven't seen already, my full reaction video is up on the channel. I react and talk about the entrance, and then I talk about the full match as well. So if you've seen that, it's not a great deal that I can add. I thought the entrance was brilliant. I thought the way that it was basically his old gimmick, but twisted, made darker. It kind of came out to like metal music, and then the lyrics were from his old theme. It meant people could still do the Firefly thing as well, which people love to do. And he had the lantern still, but this time it wasn't just a lantern. It was like a Bray Wyatt head. And apparently the eyes were sewn shut. I didn't see that. But apparently they were, and I totally believe they were. Because obviously, like, it was so gruesome, like the mouth was open, and that's where the light was coming out. The braids had been like tied together, and that was the handle. It was really dark. And yeah, his fighting style was what we thought. He was a brawler, and he got most of the offense in. Finn Balor did get a few moments, but yeah, it was good. It was everything that you hoped to see. Really liked that move as well, where he had Finn twisted the neck around, kind of had him sat in front of him, looking at the camera like that. I think that would have been a really great finisher. Something along those lines, like a neck snap kind of a move. So he does that, and Finn kind of collapses and goes down. But it's the mandible claw that puts Balor away. And then lights go off, and basically he's gone. So it was all about the entrance. Wrestling style was what we expected. He was a brawler. A few headbutts in there as well. A few vicious things in there. He seemed to, overcome Finn Balor quite easily. It'd be very, very interesting to see the Fiend against the Demon. Kind of feel like they're pitched both about the same level. So I think that would be a very intriguing match. The only downside is someone would have to lose, unless they do a double count out. But after tonight, I don't think people would want to see a double count out again. So yeah, I've gone with a 7. I had it at about an 8, but it dipped down for me because of the main event. Match of the night, I went with Bray Wyatt. I know it wasn't the best wrestling match of the night, but I really enjoyed the watching it unfold. I enjoyed the entrance. I was just lost in it, to tell the truth. If there's, for me, a big aspect when it comes to match of the night, a big aspect for me is, would I go back and watch that match again? And I would go back and watch the Bray Wyatt match again, but I'm not sure if I would watch any of the other matches again, and that really is a big factor for me. So yeah, I would do that. That's how I'm judging it. And moment of the night, it's got to be the entrance. It's got to be the entrance. I absolutely loved the entrance. I thought it was pitched perfectly, and yeah, it was great. It really was. He snapped his neck. He did. Yeah, he had him sat in front and kind of twisted it round. He didn't really snap his neck because, of course, you can die from that. So, yeah, he didn't really snap his neck, but it was a brilliant, brilliant moment. And it was one of those kind of moments that really suited the Fiend character, just like the Mandible Claw does. And the headbutts as well, all the headbutts that were coming in, that really fits the Fiend character also. So, yeah, really good. I mean, no major complaints. I think people are going to largely be very positive about it. As I said, of the reviews that I've seen, people are saying this was one of the most enjoyable SummerSlams for quite a long time. Let's have a look and see if there's any other little bits that I might have missed. Yes, Carmela and R-Truth. So you know when they always show the different commentary teams doing all the different languages, they got to one. And it was Carmela and R-Truth in disguises, which was really clever. And then they carried on and went down the rest of the line. And then Drake Maverick, of course, showed up. But by that point, R-Truth and Carmela had gone. So that was a lot of fun. Ring gear. There was some really interesting ring gear. I couldn't tell what Ricochet's was. I'm told it was Black Panther inspired. It kind of looked Batman-esque as well. And it was cool. It looked really smart. I think it was a one-off. I don't think that's new gear for him, like, on a permanent basis. Kofi's ring gear was Toronto Raptors inspired. It was really cool. It's like Toronto Raptors colours. It had logos on as well. And that was great. But my favourite was probably Alexa Bliss, who was wearing, like, Buzz Lightyear inspired wrestling attire. It looked really, really good. I really hope we get a Mattel figure of that, because it did look absolutely brilliant. And then Ricochet, we've got to talk about Ricochet. He actually was on the outside of the ring. He actually stepped on the shoulder of Gallows and then Anderson, jumped off them towards AJ Styles, managed to wrap his legs around AJ, hit like a hurricanrana on the outside. Like, the whole sequence was absolutely incredible. For him to, like, go bang, 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 hurricanrana, like, and the OC, like, you could see Gallows and Anderson, like, so frustrated with themselves that they'd just allowed Ricochet to do that. It's those kind of moments that people remember. It's those kind of moments that make Ricochet stand out. And that's what makes him such a special talent. It's not just that he can do those kind of aerial moves, but it's the innovation. It's the fact that he does stuff that you just have never seen before. And honestly, when you've been watching wrestling for as long as I have, like since the early 90s, to see things that you've never seen before is greatly appreciated. So yeah, that was definitely worth a shout out. It was absolutely brilliant. So that's my score anyway. I'm giving it a 7. Those of you that are watching live, fire your scores in. I would love to know what you rate the show. Am I right? Am I wrong? Have I pitched it, about right? I can see Daniel Fox saying Nightwing. Maybe it was Nightwing. I'm seeing people saying Black Panther as well. So is I don't know, is Nightwing in Black Panther? I haven't got a clue about Marvel films. if I'm being honest. I see Team CB says 7. Xavier says 10. Mr. 2K says 8.5. DB House 09 says 7. Brian Schaefer says 7 to 7.5. Best Puppet Bros says an 8. Justin Hamlin says an 8. John Cena Gamer 0809 says 10 out of 10 because of Alexa and Bray. Vito says 7. Chalmers says 7.2. It was 10 before main event. Chalmers, I am with you, dude. I am with you. Hoof says 8 if Bray had stripped. Luke says 8. Juice TV says 9.9. The best part of the pay-per-view was Bray Wyatt. It was amazing. Donnie says 7. Supreme says 9. Yeah, look, it was a lot of fun. For those of you that joined us on the live stream as well, I know I said before, but let me repeat, I really did appreciate it. Thank you for joining us here as well. I just want to kind of get across the fact that it was a decent show, but the reasons why I'm giving it a 7, and it is largely down for me to the fact that Seth found a way of winning, and I really didn't want him to, so it's as simple as that. Awesome, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. I am definitely off to bed after a 6.5 hour live stream, and now this review stream. I think it is time to go to bed. So wherever you are, have a great evening or have a great night, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow for Raw and then Tuesday for SmackDown Live. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye for now.